Hello and welcome to the Monday Agenda. The Monday Agenda today is discussing strategic thinking for sustainable reforms, a case study of judiciary in Tanzania. And in the studio is none other but Professor Elisante Ole Gabriel, who is the Chief Court Administrator. Professor, very welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Professor, I'm delighted, first and foremost, to actually have this interview with you because in the recent previous, we've been talking at your capacity as a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Livestock. But now you got into another portfolio now as a chief court administrator.
Yes.
The move.
Yeah.
Tell us your previous and current experiences and how, these are two different entities altogether. But how are you faring in terms of that shift?
Yeah, first of all, let me say I'm equally delighted to come again to your studio to have another discussion in this Monday Agenda program. And it's true that when we met last time, I was the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Livestock. And as you know, I've been also serving in other ministries before that. I was the Minister of Trade and Industries. Prior to that, Minister of Information, Arts and Culture. And as you said now, there is this shift coming to another organ, Judiciary. So definitely, as you know, we have three organs, the Judiciary, Parliament, and the Executive. Now coming to Judiciary is a different perspective because in Judiciary, number one, we are dealing with justice dispensation.
Okay.
Well, when I was in the livestock, I've been dealing, that is what we call productive sector. It's all about trading, doing business. When you deal with cattle, you deal with milk and so on. But here I'm dealing with the intangible commodity called justice. But number two, the nature of the clients I've been dealing with them when I was the PS in livestock is definitely different. The nature of the clientele, I am now dealing with it. Here now I'm dealing with magistrates, judges, and also non-judicial officers. But I must say it's a very interesting experience. I really appreciate the reception given to me by His Lordship, Professor Ibrahim Hamis Juma, the Chief Justice, so to now the current Principal Judge, Honorable Mustafa Siani, and also the Chief Registrar, Martin Chuma, not forgetting the former Principal Judge, Dr. Feleshi. And I must say we are doing very well. I have a lot of appreciation to the staff I am now managing. When I was in the livestock, I was managing about 550 people, in terms of staff. In Judiciary now it is 5,835.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine the scope.
Yes.
But also the sensitivity of the matter. That's when even the President, when she was sworn me in, she really said that go and make sure that the justice dispensation is done properly. And you see, when you talk of justice, it's not like a bottle of water or a glass of water. It's intangible. But honestly speaking, we are doing very well.
Excellent.
And these are people who are very much focused also in reforms. They are very organized and the broader scope. And we are keeping on improving and improving so that we also leave legacy.
Excellent.
Sure.
When we talk about sustainable reforms, what is this, sustainable reforms, and looking onto the managerial perspective?
Good. Well, let me start by saying that when you talk about reform, it might be a second level. Normally it goes like this. You start by forming, so you form, you reform, you transform, you inform so that they conform. So you can see that conundrum about 5 stages is quite critical. But now as and when we look on the reform, you're trying to change the way things have been done. When you formed a certain institution or a certain working environment, now you are reforming it to cope with the real situation. That can be done at the family level, organizational level, for instance, regional level, region, but even at the national level, and maybe later on I may also give some tips on what I also feel and what I see also as reforms happening at the national level.
Okay.
But now there is an aspect of sustainability. Many reforms are taking place, but there is a chemistry to make sure that that very particular reform is sustainable. And one of the important aspects to make sure that the reform is sustainable is the involvement of the top officials. So talk of any organization, talk of any nation, the top official involvement is extremely important. But also those who are going to implement the reforms, it is important for them to understand exactly what reforms mean. But the key facet is that we must make sure that we start reform by mindset approach.
Okay.
That's why you bring now the issue of strategic reform. So the better reform can be sustainable when you start reforming the mindset of the people in the organization. When you do so, then reforms will be inside, outside driven and not outside, inside driven.
Okay.
And I guarantee you that once you make reforms of the minds of the people to become more strategic, then definitely you're going to have reform which is and will remain to be sustainable. The reason I am emphasizing on sustainability, it might be expensive to do reforms. But more importantly, you must sustain that reform. It being in the public sector or private sector. It takes some resources. But the question is, how are organizations strategizing the sustainability of the reform? That is extremely important. That's why I'm saying, at the end of the day, this reform must lead us to transformation. Again, you transform that very particular organization or even the nation. But also you inform the people that we have done some reforms and transformation so that they must also conform to that reform. If they don't conform, it becomes business as usual, and within a short time, it's going to collapse.
Prof, as you're responding to, or rather highlighting or clarifying or making it more clear, what this strategical sustainable reform is, I was contemplating, especially when you said you would probably touch base later on towards what national reforms at the national level. And I've been thinking, Tanzania is 60 plus years since we gained our independence, and we've been fighting our three common enemies. There are many more now, but the three common: illiteracy, poverty, and diseases. And I really wish and I hope that this discussion enriches other ministries as well, especially in the education sector and the health sector. Maybe these are the examples you might want to cite later on, although we're looking onto the case of Judiciary in Tanzania. But I think probably.
Yeah, I think the best way is that we're going to use Judiciary later as a typical case study.
Yes.
But now in this introduction, because it's also helping the viewers and listeners, I can say at the national level, yes, so many reforms have taken place, and even in the various sectors you're talking about, education, health, agriculture, and so on, there are so many reforms taking place. And if I talk about reforms at the national level, as I say, top leadership is critical.
Of course.
If I may give some few examples, for instance, what happened when President Nyerere was there, the founder of the nation. He tried his best, bearing in mind the situation of early 60s. The country had a different micro and macro economic forces. It's completely different from the way it is now. But what I wish to mention is that also for reforms to take place, servant leadership is necessary. Extremely important.
Okay.
Because it needs sacrifice. Now, if you look at Mwalimu Nyerere, he is one of the role models of servant leadership, and he has done a lot. Now we got a president of the second phase, third phase, fourth phase, fifth phase, and the sixth phase now. If I may also give you an example of the sixth phase government, Her Excellency Madame Samia Suluhu Hassan, she's also demonstrating the servant leadership qualities, and that is extremely important.
Of course.
And I give you two quick examples, if you don't mind. One is we are now kind of settling down from the pandemic, COVID-19.
That's correct.
But you're a witness, and even the Tanzanians are witnesses, that thing when it came to Tanzania, COVID-19 in March 2020, it was a heavy shock on the 16th of March. I will never forget. I remember I was at Shinyanga at that time driving back to Dodoma. And that's, wow, it's like life is coming to an end. But as you're gonna see when she came on board, how she decided to volunteer and say, well, I'm going to start doing the vaccination. And I must say many Tanzanians are so much worried about vaccination, including myself. I'm among the people who are resisting actually. No, I don't think this is okay.
Yes.
But I guarantee you that the way she took the matter, I'm now talking about the servant leadership perspective, she said these words, listen carefully. She said, I am a mother, I am a wife, I'm a grandmother. Above all, I am a president and a shepherd. A shepherd is like a pastor or a priest. I could not actually get myself to this if I knew it is dangerous. That is like giving it up. But we know all vaccinations are not 100% actually clear. Anything might have happened. But she said, I am going to do it. And when she did that, it stimulated many people. And even myself, I got in it. So if you look people doing those things at the top level, it touches the nation so much. But look on what she has done recently about the royal tour also. It is great. And we are just finishing the month of Ramadan. And she was in the time of fasting. But she went ahead and do that. And I tell you people, that kind of reform she has done in the tourism industry, that impact will take more than 50 years. The benefit of it, we shall always be benefiting. But we are saying, as you can see, when reforms are also connected to the top leadership, with servant leadership on board, it means a lot. Look on the education. Makani, you know, during our time, passing standard 7, the whole village, you know that, Makani has passed to go to the secondary school because there's only 2 or 3 people. During my time, I think it's only one lady who passed standard 7. But what is happening now? You see what reforms have been done in the education industry.
Sector, yes.
I mean, students are, buildings are waiting for students. The buildings are already there. The classrooms, they are there. So you can see that that's unbelievable. Come to the health sector, come to the water sector. A lot has been done. So
reforms at the national level.
At the national level.
Prof, looking on to strategic...
Sorry, but Makani,
go ahead.
We have also to appreciate what has been done in the settlement and the postcode system. That's another thing.
The ongoing
I tell you, that thing, we have to give a lot of credits to our president because she spearheaded that. And I tell you, and I guarantee you, people and the viewers, that the brand of Tanzania is going to change tremendously. During our time, you key in Google, you want to log in some scholarship, say postcode. We even didn't know what is postcode, let alone having the number of postcode. Now we are getting to a system whereby Tanzania is also going to be organized. So those 3 things, I think, among many, which the president has done at the national level, the royal tour is quite great. The post-COVID, the vaccination of COVID-19, the commitment she made, but also the postcode. She's doing a lot, but I'm just giving an example on how best the top leadership can actually have an impact to
absolutely, no, truly appreciate
and so to sustainability of it.
Yes, truly appreciated to have By Excellency the President, the team, very committed,
very committed.
And very pragmatic like yourself.
Thank you,
Professor.
And imagine some of us, Professor Abel Makubi, the permanent secretary.
Yes.
He is the one also who came forward and talked to us one-to-one, some of us during the time when I was the permanent secretary, and convinced us and educated us. And you can imagine that kind of involvement of top leadership. And I always remember and really the way Professor Makubi convinced some of us and okay, surely let us go and vaccinate. And by us vaccinate like myself, I convinced my wife Devota, my son Loy, my daughter Neema, they all vaccinated. Excellent. And now we are at 12%. That's what I'm told in the country.
Absolutely, yes. You know, I always say and use Our Excellency Samia as a coach.
Correct.
You know, you can have
That's
the
the right
best
word.
coach.
That's the right word.
You
Best
can have the
coach.
best coach, but if you do not have best players, again, now you supporting her now other players,
Yeah.
you know, completing that the winning team.
Winning team.
Yes, then reforms definitely. I know you're going to mention it at the end.
Sure.
At some point,
Sure.
that, you know, reform requires, you said, top management, but also the players. Strategic thinking, Professor.
Yes.
Strategic thinking for sustainable reforms.
Yeah.
You've expounded on strategic reforms, but strategic thinking.
Strategic thinking.
Is it scientific?
Yeah.
Does it follow some processes? Why is it strategic thinking?
Yeah, that's a very difficult but good question. You see, when you talk about strategic thinking, we must start by the word strategy itself. And the word strategy emanates from a Greek word strategos, which means chief in command. And now the word strategy comes on board. And strategy is nothing but a set of unified, coherent, integrated, and comprehensive set of ideas to achieve the intended objective of an individual or the organization. So there is an aspect of unification. There is an aspect of coherency there to make sure that you are thinking strategically. Now, the point is, if you think strategically, you don't do things business as usual. You always consider not only what you are doing, but how to do it. You give a special concentration on how to do, not only what to do.
Of course.
So in other words, how becomes greater than what in strategic thinking. Now, my proposal is strategic thinking is a real science, but it's a social science. And it may have to start from the family level, I suppose. You see, most of our behavioral pattern, Makani, comes from the way we have been socially brought up. How our moms and dads brought us up has made what we call social construction or social deconstruction. So I normally say they must start from the family level, but also even our education system should be helping our kids at the primary level up to the university to be thinking critically, to be thinking strategically. Now, it is imperative to understand that there are three types of minds. We have people who are great-minded, average-minded, and simple-minded. Now, in strategic thinking, we always say it is important to have all the people at the great-minded level. Those are strategic thinkers. Now, you look on great-minded people, they make things happen. Average-minded people, they watch things happening. They're neither hot nor cold. They're just at the middle. That's what President Ali Hassan Mwinyi normally says in Swahili, muhali. They don't like to offend anybody in Swahili. You leave everything as it is. You don't like to affect anybody. But you're saying that those are natural, neutral people. They watch things happening. But the larger group, which is a little bit dangerous, is the simple-minded people. The simple-minded people, they wonder why things are happening.
Okay.
You and I are saying what Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan did, but the Rio Tour is a great deal. But take it from me, there are still people who are wondering why she did so. And those are the people we call simple-minded people. And they are there. They always wonder why things are happening. And that goes in line with what we call adoption diffusion, of when you bring something new, not everybody will accept it. You bring a new brand of water, you bring a new brand of a car, there's always a pattern to follow. And I wish that even the people who are following this program, Monday Agenda, they have to understand that whenever they bring something new, they should not be disappointed when it is rejected the first time. Because that innovation diffusion model is about normal distribution curve. So it is always 2.5% of the population who are considered to be innovators. They accept that thing immediately. But the second one, we call them early adopters, is 13.5%.
Okay.
They come in. Then you get a big chunk of people now, 34%. They are called early majority. Then another 34% late majority. Interestingly, there will always be a group called laggards. Laggards. 16%. The laggards will always wait until too late So those are the people, the troublemakers. They'll always be challenging. They say, I don't need it. So if you look, if you take 2.5%, 13.5%, 34%, 16%, then you get 100% of your population. The point I'm bringing on board, strategic thinkers, they have to understand when they bring new things, it cannot be adopted immediately.
Immediately, of course.
Yeah.
And by everyone.
By everyone, not at all. So they always be laggards, they should not be disappointed. But now we have this group of average-minded people. They are there also. For them, they won't really push you, they don't help you. No, they watch things happening. But let me talk a little bit about the simple-minded people. We have also a lot of people who are simple-minded. Now, these are the people who will always and always complain. They never see an opportunity. They are always pessimistic. That anyway, you are giving this to me so that you can take. You are giving me this loan so that you can sell my house. So I don't need it. So they are so pessimistic, and they always question everything. So what we are saying is, a great-minded person, if you look at a glass of water, for instance, if it is, the level of water is here,
Yeah.
then a great-minded person will tell you that, let me use is half. So the great-minded person, this is very simple and I want the viewers to see. A great-minded person will tell you this glass is half full. But a simple-minded person will start seeing this empty. So you say, this glass is half empty. So both answers are correct. But the question is, from which perspective of mindset are you looking at? Is it from a strategic mindset or a simple mind? So simple-minded people, they always complain. These are the people, they may say to Uncle Austin, can you send me 20,000? I mean, I need that for pocket money. I say, yes, you send 20,000, but now you haven't put a withdrawal fee. So I've spent 1,000. Why did you send 21,000?
Yes.
So my point is, strategic thinking is really a science, is something to think differently. And my belief is, if we can transform a lot of our employees to be thinking strategically, then much as they want to say we need these benefits, they will also saying, I want to be responsible for this. And guess what? When have you ever had in any organization, employees are on strike because they are not producing very well? Not at all, not easy. They can always easily go on strike because they say we need a raise in salary. So we need people to think differently. And it's not simple, but it is possible and necessary.
Thank you, Prof. Strategic thinking for sustainable reforms, a case of J/T, Judiciary of Tanzania.
Yeah.
Before we deep dive again into Judiciary of Tanzania, your experience, as you rightly shared at the very beginning, I'm looking on to currently, we are in May, and shortly we are winding up the financial year 2021-2022.
Yes.
We're going on to 22-23,
Yeah.
and ministries, including, I think your ministry presented last week, the budget projections for the year 22-23.
Yeah.
So the ministries now are planning and forecasting, and I'm looking on to the two aspects of strategic thinking and strategic planning.
Yes. Okay.
Are there any similarities? Do they need to tally each other? Do they need to go along? And maybe again you can share your experience once from the PS,
Yes.
but now as the chief administrator.
Yes.
Prof, when the ministries are doing their strategic planning,
Yes.
in relation to the very great examples you've used on strategic thinking,
Yes.
are they adhering to that?
Well, yeah, I think that's another important issue to talk about. When you talk of strategic planning, it's a roadmap to tell you exactly where to go, because if you don't know where you are going, any road can take you there. And it's a requirement, even in the government, that the ministries have to have a strategic plan. And for us, Judiciary is a ministry of Constitution Affairs, Constitution and Legal Affairs, which represent us in the Parliament. And yes, it did it last week very well with the Honorable Dr. Ndumbaro. And what you're saying is, when you talk about strategic planning, in my opinion, for a strategic plan to be well designed, you need strategic mind to prepare a strategic plan. Nothing less, nothing more. The reason is, if you're going to have a strategic plan just as a document, it will never help anything at all.
Of course.
Two, if you're going to have a strategic plan just as a requirement, but you have not transformed and reformed the mindset of the people in the organization, that again is a problem. Last but not least, why many strategic plans fail, not only in the government, but in the private sector and so on. There are three major reasons. One is less involvement of the top management. It's always, it kills the possibility of it to be implemented. So I urge all other key leaders in the organizations to be involved very well in the design process, in the planning process of the strategic plan. But another reason which makes the strategic plans to fail is the implementers of the plan not to be involved in the strategic design. So they'll be implementing something they did not design. So they are not part of it. And that can actually make it fail. Now,
of course,
if I pick an example of judiciary, we have now a strategic plan of 2020-2025. It's 100 pages. I read it. It's one of the classic strategic plans I've ever seen. And we have been in a meeting 2 weeks ago designing a strategy for implementation. So we get a strategic plan, but we have strategic plan implementation strategy. And guess what? In that meeting, we had about 250 people from all over the country working in the judiciary. And who opened that meeting is the Chief Justice, His Lordship, Professor Ibrahim Hamis Juma, top leader. And we were all there. And I went to do the closure. But within the group, we had people of several ranges, judges, magistrates, accountants, planners, even the secretaries. They're there. Even my own secretary, Caroline Ntui, she was there. The security guard, they were there. People in registry, they were there. Cleaners. Why that? If you are designing, for instance, a concept note on how best you're going to improve justice dispensation, and this security officer is also there, the security guard, he or she will also hear and contribute on how that is going to be done. So if you're talking about TQM, total quality management, we are saying the quality of the service starts from the main gate, when a customer is getting to the gate of the office, up to when he or she meets the officer. This security guard will know from that meeting that, okay, I am part of justice dispensation. So they will say we are not just security guards, but we are part and parcel of implementers of the strategic plan. So that can also be an issue to be taken aboard to make sure that those who are going to implement the strategic plan are involved, and they must have, that's the third point, each organization must have a check and balance mechanism. How do you measure the performance of your key performance indicators? And now there is a nice model called OPI, Organizational Performance Index model, that is for Africa, one of the excellence models, not excellent, but excellence models, to check on how the strategic plan is performing. And in judiciary, we are due to start using it in July this year.
And you are watching the Monday Agenda, and today the Monday Agenda is discussing, very informative, on the strategic thinking for sustainable reforms, a case of Judiciary of Tanzania. And with me in the studio is none other but Professor Elisante Ole Gabriel, who is the Chief Court Administrator for Judiciary of Tanzania, and highly delighted as always. There's a lot of wisdom and knowledge that I pick from him. Professor, let's look onto the GOT,
yes.
the Judiciary of Tanzania.
Yeah.
It is said, or rather considered, to be one of the most successful institutions in reforms. As you rightly explained now, you've got everyone on board as part and parcel, so they feel they are in the bandwagon together. They all feel that I have a role to play in ensuring the dispensation of justice. I also have a role to play. But other than that, What are some of other major reforms, Professor, you would wish to the viewers to have a glimpse of?
Thank you so much, Makani. Let me start saying, maybe some people may not know that Judiciary started way back in 1920. That's why in 2020 we celebrated 100 years anniversary.
What do you mean by that?
I mean the structuring of judiciary system.
In Tanzania?
In Tanzania. That
was
Tanganyika then.
All right.
1920.
Yes, 1920.
And it is important for people to know that the current Chief Justice we have, Professor Ibrahim Hamis Juma, is the 17th Chief Justice.
Since 1920?
Since 1920.
Wow.
But we didn't have Tanzanians until 1971. So the first 11 Chief Justices were foreigners, so to speak. In other words, the Chief Justice we have in terms of citizens, he is the sixth one.
Okay. Who
is the native, the citizen of Tanzania. And I must say the reforms in judiciary started way back in 1977, going back to Msekwa's report. Then it came all the way along, so many reforms are taking place. But in 2011, a new law was enacted for the Judiciary Act, so that now we had the Judicial Service Commission coming on board, bringing the non-judicial staff also to work in judiciary in the administration part. That was in 2011. Then on 2015, that is when major reforms started, driven from inside, the earlier concept I've been saying it. And in this, we must appreciate and admire a great job done by the then Chief Justice, His Lordship Othman Chande. He was the Chief Justice then. But a great job done by the then Chief Court Administrator, Honorable Ambassador Hussein Katanga, who is now the Chief Secretary. So he is the one who worked very closely with the Chief Justice Chande to bring in these major reforms. And of course, the successor to him, Honorable Kabundu Guru, came on board, and I came just August last year. But then after Honorable Othman Chande, he came, His Lordship Professor Ibrahim Hamis Juma, keeping the momentum going on. Now you ask me, what are major reforms that took place in judiciary? Well, I think there are three major ones. One is in the mindset of the people. I commend a great job done then by Honorable Katanga. He made sure that the mindset of the people was changed. Makani, I'm saying, and I'm telling the viewers, if you don't start with the mindset, if you start with money, the financial incentive, it will collapse very fast. Start with the mindset of the people. And that's where Honorable Katanga started, to make sure that people felt to be part and parcel of reform, and people appreciate that, well, reform will be quite good. So it is not about the number of people you have in the organization, but the number of brains you have in the organization and the commitment of these people, which is important. You try to use the big result now concept methodology. You use 80% of the resources to get 80% of the output. I repeat, 20% of the resources to give you 80% of the output, and that's what we call Pareto effect. Pareto effect is an economic terminology. It was brought on board by Alfredo Pareto, who is an Italian economist. Long time ago, we have Pareto effect. So that is where we started at judiciary. But the second significant reform is in system approach. Judiciary started to view that we don't need to work on personalities, but we have to make sure that there are systems there, that whether you are there as a leader or not, the systems are working.
Correct.
So today, we don't have His Lordship Othman Chande. We have Professor Ibrahim Juma. We don't have now Honorable Hussein Othman Katanga. We have Gabriel. But the systems are there so that the current Chief Justice is running on. The systems are there so that when Matias Kabunduguru came on board, he made the system going. When I came on board, I found the system going. So the systems actually have been great. Now, The third area is the use of ICT. We have changed a lot, tremendously. You look on judiciary of maybe way back in 1977 and judiciary of today, you know, they're completely two different animals.
Of course, yeah.
For instance, we have several systems. I will mention a few. We have what we call Tanzania. Tanzania is a system whereby when judges and magistrates, they finish their cases, then they upload their judgment immediately so that people are looking for the copies of the judgments. They just get them instantly.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is the story, a practical story. That system is one of the systems in the world of which several people are visiting, because it works in such a way that if you upload the judgment, then that judgment automatically will bring some similar judgments of that case, so that when advocates are looking on some arguments, they can read other cases.
Oh, wow.
Now, that system of Tanzania, compared in the world, the viewers, the percentage of Tanzania in viewership is 82.4%.
Oh, wow.
82.4% is the leading system in the world.
Oh, wow.
The next country is having 2.7%.
Wow.
And I don't like to mention, it's a very big country.
Okay.
I don't like to mention.
All right.
So that is to tell you that we have that. But also we have JSDS, Judicial Statistical Dashboard System, whereby now you can also see how our cases going on. We have the call center now. We have just inaugurated it on 1st of March this year, and it's working very well. And I wish to mention this, that it is to give us the feedback. So I want to tell the viewers now, if you have anything in terms of procedures which you're not happy in the court system, you can call this number, 0752 500 400, 0752 500 400, and the email is maoni@judiciary.go.tz, maoni@judiciary.go.tz. This center, we put it as a system of feedback. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year. It means we don't close it until Jesus comes back. We work there. We have 12 dedicated people working there. The team leader is a lady called Yvette Amboya. The technical supervisor, who is a judicial staff, is a magistrate, Honorable Domitian Mlashani, and they're doing a great job. So that again is part of reform. Makani, those days you go to a court, you are not happy with the service, you have nowhere to tell. Now we have a system, it's open 24/7, and people can actually be bringing it. So there are so many reforms in terms of system. But another magnanimous reform is in structures, the buildings.
Okay.
Unbelievable. You see, maybe people don't know, but the structure of the court has 5 stages, Makani. We have primary courts, district courts, but regional magistrate courts at regional level, but we also have high court and the court of appeal. Now, in the primary court, we have 960 courts. District level, we have 120 out of 139 districts we have. And when you come to the resident magistrate, about 30, and also high court, 18. Now, when you talk about the buildings now, we thank so much the 6th-phase government. We have been given 51.5 billion to construct 6 integrated justice centers.
Okay.
They are beautiful. They are nice. Maybe you heard in the parliament, Honorable Aisha, we call her, I'm sure, she was saying, when we took them to a tour, she said in the parliament, and I quote, she said, if you go to the toilet of IJC, you don't like to get out of it. It's so nice.
Oh, wow.
You used to remain there.
Okay.
But the beauty part of the story is we are also building a headquarters. You know, by December this year, we are moving to Dodoma.
Okay.
And this is very important for the viewers. That building there, it costs 129.7 billion shillings. That's what the government is supporting the judiciary. A lot of money. The acreage there, the land, the plot given is 45 acres, big. There are 4 structures in one. We have High Court, we have Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, and administration. But Makani, this is what I wish Tanzanians to know. If you take floor utilization of courts in the world, the top 10 buildings or headquarters, the top 10, the largest one is in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. It has floor size utilization, 147,000. But the 10th one is in Cyprus, 11,000 square meters. That's how we measure it.
Okay.
But importantly, the 5th one is in Germany, 65,000. The 6th one is in Belgium, 52,000 square meters. I'm deriving a certain equation. I know you'll ask me, how much is the floor size of Tanzania?
Yes, when we rank.
When the building gets done, and that will happen on Thursday, the 29th of December at 3 p.m., the job will be done. The floor size is 60,000 square meters. What does that mean? That's why I told you about the 5th and the 6th, that the 5th one, which is in Germany, is 65,000 square meters. The 6th one is in Belgium, 52,000. Automatically, we shall become number 6.
Number 6.
In the world.
In the world.
And that is Tanzania.
Prof, I have very few minutes left.
Right.
But I have one or two burning questions. You spoke about the Pareto effect. And you took me back in couple of years, many years when I was doing economics as well in secondary school.
Yes.
And I want to relate, or rather ask my question in terms of the investment that the government of Tanzania is putting in the judiciary system vis-a-vis. This is towards the tall order that you receive that go and make justice system, that what Her Excellency Samia Suluhu called you to do.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, why should we not invest so much in ensuring that people do not fall in the traps of getting caught by the justice system?
Correct. Let me try to answer that carefully.
Yes.
There are so many questions in one. And number one is, let me talk another very important concept about the freedom in judiciary.
Yes.
How we do things, because some other people say, well, now the government is giving you money, it's giving you 129 billion. Are you free? The point is, I normally say there is what we call power separation, not power disconnection. No, those are two different things. If you go back to the engineering analogy, if you talk of three-phase distribution of power,
yes,
there are always three wires, and there is one which is neutral, right? So, but all these lines are live, they have power, right? They're only separated, not disconnected, and they're even separated and insulated. So I think it is important for the people to understand that surely the government is supporting judiciary, but doesn't mean that it doesn't have its kind of control and freedom.
Which for me, I'm truly very happy, and that is what the government is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
But my question is,
yes,
my question is to you, Prof, is it's a huge investment.
Sure.
I'm thinking, I can only access, or I can only get into the judiciary system if something propels me to come.
Sure.
For instance,
Sure.
if I were, or if you had to choose between a university and a court, you would reckon that maybe let's focus on the university, although these are, as you said,
Sure,
three-phase.
Yeah, three-phase.
But I'm saying, why don't we focus more on ensuring that, law and order is maintained,
Sure,
so that we do not even have access?
Yeah, I'm surely coming to that. I just thought I better start with that freedom of judiciary.
In a minute, if you can do that.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yes.
So the point, that's why I'm saying strategic thinking should start at the family level. That's to do with the social construction. Makani, we are behaving the way we are behaving because of our social construction when we have been pretty young. So we need the families, and in the integrated justice centers, we are putting all the stakeholders together. The social workers, the NPS, the National Prosecution Services, we are putting the Attorney General's people there, the advisors to be there, so that people can be also nurtured to make sure that they are properly taken care. But remember, judiciary is also now working very closely with the leaders, the religious leaders. And in a few weeks to come, or months,
yes,
we are going to have Alhaji Musa, who is the chair of the Peace Commission, and his permanent secretary, Bishop Dr. Maasa, we get those religious leaders on board to make sure that they reform people in their churches so that surely they don't become criminals, because every criminal has his or her religious status.
Of course.
But finally is the Pareto effect, which you said. Pareto effect is necessary because that gives us a strategic thinking not to give excuses. We must use the little resources we have for better output, because excuses and success never live in the same room in all cases.
Of course.
Yeah.
Doctor, 1 minute to just wrap up, speak to the Tanzanians. And
Yeah,
for
well,
me, I still have so many questions, but my time has just vanished. But
well, I must say that in principle, we appreciate a great support of which the government of Tanzania is giving to the judiciary. But number two, I wish to inform Tanzanians that the pace of change of judiciary with the application of ICT is going very fast. And I once said the speed of change of technology is taking the planet Earth to the unknown destination. So I call Tanzanians to make use of our call center, which I mentioned the number 0752 500 400, 0752 500 400, to bring their views, to bring their comments, and anything they are not actually happy about. But finally, I must say that for us, judiciary, our main job is to give justice dispensation, which will be transparent and easily accessible.
Professor Elisante Ole Gabriel is the Chief Court Administrator, and I do not know where my 45 minutes of the Monday agenda have gone to, but Professor, I am certainly going to look for another opportunity to have an interview with you so that my viewers of the Monday agenda can really tap onto the knowledge and the wisdom, especially in the strategic reforms of the case of GOT in Tanzania, so that they can actually be part and parcel, as you rightly said, from the grassroots. You know, the support comes all the way.
Sure.
You know, it goes all the way to, I call Our Excellency Samia Citizen #1.
Yeah.
You know, so if we want to really see a better tomorrow whereby, you know, systems work, system function very well, then it really has to start at the family level.
Absolutely.
I really would like to thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Once again for coming to the Monday Agenda. I hope you make time soon again to come to the Monday Agenda.
Sure.
And I'm your host, Austin Makani. Until next time, think strategically. Keep watching. Thank you for watching the Monday Agenda.